Hey, everybody.
Hello.
Hey, you know what? We suck.
We do.
It's been a long COVID. It's been a long year.
Yeah. Fucking A. Like, I basically took Brewing Up Laughs and put it in its own coma. And it hasn't done any sort of independent shows. The clubs just came back. Shit. Yuck Yucks this week folded its location on Elgin Street and moved down the street to Dow's Lake. Which on the plus side, now we can walk to both clubs and fucking catch both acts. Right?
Yeah. The problem is, though, is now that Yucks is at Lago, which is a restaurant. Sorry, for people, we just jumped straight on in. Like, today is March 5th, 2021.
Yes,
we need to now kind of mark the days we record this because the world changes every second day.
That's right, and we don't keep on top of this.
No, because this will likely come up out over the next 5 days, and then the next time we sit down to record will likely be like 10 days to 15 days.
Yeah, so...
My parents are coming up out of town next week, so it's not going to happen. It's just life is busy, but it also is slow.
Life is hectic.
Life is fucked up. But yes, we're open again.
Yeah, we are open here in Ontario again.
And Yucks closed.
And Yucks, yeah.
Was it a building issue or was it a rent issue?
I think it's a building issue / rent issue. I think because the bar that was upstairs supporting most of that, most of the landlord's necessities, the bar upstairs went tits up at first shutdown.
Hooley's.
But
Hooley's is now back under Hooley's again.
They're not upstairs again.
But I remember seeing like Chris talk about how like the Hooley's food bar was still open for Yucks.
Yeah, as of January 1st, though, the whole place shut down.
Okay.
So as in second lockdown, that was a casualty of second lockdown.
Okay. It's like, you know what, like I'm happy that it's moving to Lago because I hated that location.
Yeah, that basement.
It just smelled like piss.
Yeah,
it smelled like piss.
Get your shit together.
Like I don't want to perform in a dungeon that smells like piss. Like if I wanted to perform in Germany, I'd live in Germany.
Das Deutschland. Das would be fun, yeah. Pissy smelly hole.
That's out to our 5 German listeners, you dirty bastards.
Rossamatas Deutschland, number 1.
But at Lago, they're not going to take the bar anymore. So, like, at least over the last couple of years, the X was taking the bar downstairs at Hooley's, so they were able to allow comics and people to come in for free for the shows.
I would think that there is some sort of deal there with Largo. I don't think Howard is going to let that peach up too easily. And I think it works out great for Largo because now they're a guaranteed 50-seaters.
That's true. They can get a full 50 in there.
I have a feeling that... I just have a feeling that there would be some sort of percentage of bar deal.
You know, they're not... I know that they're saying they're not going to be there long, but I could see them being there until, like, COVID is done.
Yeah, I could see a year, for sure.
Yeah,
a year and a bit.
Just throw it in there where it's like, okay, we're only doing shows Thursday, Friday, Saturday, because that's when we can.
But that's not necessarily going to happen either, because... I think it'll be not just Thursday, Friday, Saturday. It'll probably Wednesday through Saturday or Wednesday through Sunday.
I'm starting to get that itch to get back on stage.
Shit, now?
It's been a year and 3 days. Man. A year and 3 days since the last time I've been on stage.
Cheers.
Cheers to that. We're fucking drinking Bose Strong Patrick. If you don't know Bose, they are in Van Cleek Hill. They are... one of Canada's probably best microbreweries.
Yeah, for sure.
Their Lug Tread is their most famous.
Great staple.
I know.
It's a great beer.
Big Brother Canada had it as their beer of Big Brother Canada for a couple of seasons.
Nice.
And so Strong Patrick is their release that they bring out for St. Patrick's Day. Usually they used to only sell it in the 710 milliliter bottles for like $8 a bottle, which was ridiculous. But now you can get it in a bottle. Shit. I like the tall. I liked it, but it was pricey.
It is pricey
versus the cans are like $3.
Yeah.
The 355. No, these are the 473 milliliter.
Yeah,
cans.
so these are tall boys. Yeah.
But
it's good.
It's an amber.
It's a lot like what I prepared at my homebrew.
Yeah, it's an Irish red.
Yeah, mine was an Australian red.
You did an Australian red. We were supposed to be drinking Chris's Australian reds, but he forgot about that. I'm going to give him some growlers to take home with him, so that way I know that...
Well, we will definitely be sampling that next time. But this is great. This is smooth.
It's malty, but like more caramel.
More caramel,
like it's like a caramel malt.
IPA finish, rather. So, yeah.
And, you know, like... Well, you got a little bit of an IPA finish, but more of like a New England IPA finish because it's got like the sweetness to it.
It's sweet. It's sweeter rather than tart. Yeah.
And now that we've alienated half of the people that's tuned in because they're like, "Oh, these beer douches and comedy douches."
Yeah. We're here to talk about kids now. Sorry.
Well, yeah.
We got better transition.
What did we do to transition into the beer?
Well, we're talking about bar stuff with
bar stuff with Yak Yaks, and absolutely. No. But you've been back on stage, like you've gone back into the clubs. I want to touch on that before we jump into kid stuff.
Yeah, no, I had opening night, I guess a week and a half ago
at Abs,
and man, it was great just to get that, because my last show was December 18th, and I was featuring out in Cornwall for a full room.
You did that for Dan Allaire?
Dan Allaire, yeah. And
who hosted that?
Dan.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it was a good show. We had one table just checked out, of course, while I was on stage.
Yeah, I remember you saying that you lost it at them, right?
I did, and it was like, I got it back for the rest of the room, but they didn't care. They got their fill of the ticket, so they checked out, and it was like, I couldn't get them back.
It's Cornwall.
It's Cornwall.
It's Cornwall.
So they just went with it, and but yeah, it was great to get back on, and Tuesday night I went to Yuck's to watch the premiere or the screening of Comedy 19, the comedy documentary
about comedy during COVID-19.
That's right.
And it was mostly filmed here in Ottawa, right?
Yeah, it had a pretty big presence for a lot of acts that are Ottawa-based,
including at least one known sex offender. We won't name names, but I saw that name on the poster and I was like, oh, we're promoting that. Okay.
Yeah.
Not cool. We're not promoting that.
That's happening.
That's happening.
That's the thing.
Like, known to the entire community as a predator.
As a predator.
As name across the bill.
You got his 2 cents in, that's for sure.
Anyway. Do it before you'll get kicked out. Well,
all the proceeds to this endeavor, despite it having that person, all the proceeds go to the Canadian Comic Relief Fund, which is a Cask-sponsored initiative.
Cask is our union.
Yeah, it started like maybe 2 years before COVID happened, and
I think Cask is like 5 years old. We've only been paying dues for about 2 years.
2.5 years, yeah.
But Sanders started it
about 5, yeah.
Yeah.
But then I guess 2.5 years ago, everybody took notice because they went to bat for our Sirius XM station, JFL.
Right, because Howie Mandel
and JFL bought out our Canadian content station, which aired on Sirius XM, and it was in jeopardy of a lot of great Canadian acts losing all this SoundCloud money. And then they raised a big stink, and they were like, "No, we're not changing it at all." But they were clearly changing it.
Yeah.
And anyway, so that was a big win, and now they're still trying to get us recognized as an art form.
Well, yeah, they're right now trying to get us recognized as an art form, which allows us to get access for traveling and visas and grants. And then the next thing they're going to do is hit the clubs for wages because
100%.
You know,
need to.
The fact that you've performed how many times through the pandemic?
Oh man.
In the last year, how many times have you been on stage?
Oh, man, at least a dozen.
Okay, so 12 times. How many times did you get paid?
Oh, God, maybe 4 of them.
How many times did you get paid more than $50?
3 of those.
And of those 3, were any of them over 100?
No.
So 12 times on stage. Only paid for 4.
Yep.
And not a single one of those times was over 100, and you can do a solid 20.
Yep.
I know you can do, I don't mean this to be mean because we're in the same boat. We can do a mediocre 30 or a solid 20.
Yeah.
You know? And do you know how, it takes, years to get a solid 20.
Yeah.
And they're for the past year, I get COVID's been down, but you made less than $400.
Yep.
And I bet that none of that money came from clubs.
That is correct.
You've been doing club shows.
Don't get me wrong. I've been doing club shows, but all my money came from me.
And it's funny because people at the club shows usually drop more money than people at the bar shows.
That's right.
We charge cheaper ticket sales at the bar shows, usually and
get a bigger overhead. So yeah, there was a lot of. There's a lot of room for improvement
Oh, that was delightful. I'm glad I'm trapped in a small box with you.
Tastes like coffee.
Hey, before we jump into talking about kids like we should be talking about, have you noticed my new office attire? It's John McClane just hanging from the top of the desk like Die
Man,
Hard.
that's awesome.
It's just
that's great. I was gonna wonder who Kung Fu Superhero was, but now just told me it's John McClane. I clearly see the hose wrapped around his stomach.
Well, and he's got like the list. He's got Hans and Carl written on his arm. He's got the list of how many people he's killed.
And he's clearly got bandages on his feet.
Yeah. That's John McClane. It's because I bought. I found this on sale because it's no longer Christmas. But a comedian from the States, Doogie Horner. If you don't know Doogie Horner, you should check him out. He's really funny. He's also always on Doug Loves Movies and works with Doug Benson a lot.
Okay.
He wrote and then had J.J. Harrison illustrate a Die Hard Christmas, which is ultimately a Christmas book like The Night Before Christmas, but it's about Die Hard.
Nice.
So 'twas the night before Christmas, and up in the tower, everyone was partying except for one wallflower.
Yeah.
John McClane, you know.
Nice.
John McClane missed his wife. Things just weren't the same since Holly had moved west and changed her last name.
Yes, great.
So yeah, it's a funny little book, and it comes with this plush doll that hangs.
Like he's jumping off the tower because the C4 blows up the tower, right? Yeah.
So now that this is my work office, because I work from home, I was like, I can't have comic books hanging behind me because of my clientele, but they can't see John McClane, who's just staring at me the entire time that we're talking.
Welcome to the party, pal.
Welcome to the party, pal. Ho, ho, ho. Now I've got a machine gun.
Still one of my greatest Christmas movies I watch at Christmas. That is a Christmas movie to some, and others, who gives a fuck? This year we were like, hey man, if it makes you happy, do it.
Exactly. Who cares?
Yeah, who cares?
Die Hard. All 5 Die Hards are now on Disney Plus.
Really?
Yeah, because they added
Fox.
Yeah. I made Kate watch Die Hard 2 Die Harder this Christmas instead of Die Hard.
Oh shit! How did she think of that one? Which also takes place at Christmas.
Yeah,
you have to watch them together, really. But I often do that one every other. You don't need to, but once every other year.
If you're gonna watch them together, do it at like an old timey theater like the Mayfair.
Yeah, for sure. Take back some pints and go support them local when you can come out again.
But I was just like, oh, I want to watch Die Hard, but then I was like, you know what I haven't seen in a while is Die Hard 2.
Yeah.
And so I made us watch Die Hard 2 this year instead.
3, I don't remember 5.
That was Samuel L. Jackson, not Christmas.
Oh, and Vengeance.
Yeah, Die Hard with a Vengeance.
Yeah. And then
also
there's what's his Tommy Long.
No,
that was 4.
4 was Justin Long, and that was It's a Good Day. No, Die Hard.
Live Free or Die Hard.
Live Free or Die Hard, because that was the PG-13 one where they had to bleep out "Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker" with the gunshot. Then Good Day to Die Hard was number 5, where he's in Chernobyl with his son.
Right.
Who's like a CIA agent.
I totally missed that one.
Yeah, you know what?
You can miss that one.
Anything after 3 you can miss. And some people will argue that anything after 1 you can miss.
Well, no, because number 3 is Jeremy Irons.
It does have Jeremy Irons. And they break into like Fort Knox with the ants go marching one by one.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because a couple years later 9/11 happened and all the gold was gone. Oh, shit. But, yeah, whatever. So,
jet fuel doesn't melt steel beams.
Sure doesn't.
All right, fellow fathers.
How's it going?
And father wannabes. Or mothers. Or children. Or
beer enthusiasts.
Puppets. Muppets. Animals. We have to talk about fathering.
Yep. And specifically about tantrums. Tantrums!
Oh my gosh. So here's the thing, Chris. Maddie is almost 19 months. We're at the point where we should stop calling her Ben months. She's a year and a half. Right? Maddie's a year and a half.
Yeah. 19 months.
18 months was a year and a half. Thank you, math man.
No problem.
But
rounding up, motherfucker.
She's technically a year and a half until she's 2 now.
Yeah, that's right. Then we'll say 24 months.
She's gone from where her temper tantrums are cute and novel to like they are now a futility or just a lesson in futility because she just stands there and shrieks. And I'm starting to find that it's for the most inane reasons.
Huh.
So, for example, she loves her water bottle now. She's got a little sippy bottle that always has water in it, and she can't go anywhere without it. And if I move it or take it away, or if we're going upstairs for a bath or to nap or whatever, she will stand there and scream just wah, 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 until you bring her water and carry it up with her. Even if she's not going to drink it when she's upstairs, she just wants to be near it. And it's gotten to the point where, like, she gets, for maybe 5 to 10 minutes, like, aggressively violent.
Oh.
And she'll grab books and throw them. She will, like, she's not hitting anything, which I'm grateful for, but, like, she'll throw herself on the ground and flail around. And then she'll, like, you know, pick up something off of the ground and just throw it back on the ground. And she's actively trying to be destructive, even though there's no strength there. Like, she's being more of an annoyance than she is.
For sure. She's trying to get a response out of you.
And now, here's the thing. It's like, I always recommend don't give a response in the emotion, because when you're emotional, you're not really thinking with logic or reason. And we're also dealing with someone who's learning big emotions. But there has to be a point where there's an interjection. And you have kids much older than Maddie that have had temper tantrums. You've got kids that still have temper tantrums.
Yeah, it's a different type of temper tantrum now. It's much more of a... You think they're actually having a tantrum, but maybe they're just putting on an act. Both of them are trying to elicit a different response out of me. So it's a big long con with them.
Okay.
Right? Amanda sees this one side all day, and Erica will start having a crying hissy fit, like, or crying like she's hurt, and then basically she's not hurt at all. She's just trying to get me to get Eddie in trouble.
So wait, she's not really throwing temper tantrums. She's faking injuries to try and get her brother punished.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, mostly that.
Because that doesn't sound like a temper tantrum. That sounds quite manipulative.
Yeah, she's pretty much an all-star in it. Right? No, I think our temper tantrums, when did... Eddie was having, like, nothing like that. I don't know. Every time I had seen temper tantrums like what you would explain, I think when Eddie had them when he was smaller.
Okay, so tell me about that. Like, what did you guys do? How did you come out the other end? Because the other night, she screamed at me for 45 minutes because she ran out of stickers.
Wow.
I know.
That's a trip.
It was just, no, stick now!
Yes,
for 45 minutes.
That's a trip.
It was, and, like, I just sat there. I was like, you know what? You have your moment. I'm not going to, like, engage, because if I engage, it'll make it worse. I don't have any stickers to give her.
Yeah.
She's used all the stickers. They are all over both of our faces. We look like morons.
Yep.
But
you're not going to engage with further stickers.
So like, you going through, like, and I can only bear so much before I'm like, I want to stick my head into battery acid.
I'd probably just put her in her room and let her melt down.
Oh, yeah? Go full meltdown?
Let her melt down in her room, and she'll probably cry herself to sleep.
This was like an hour and a half after her 2-hour-long nap.
Good for her. Let her run it out in there.
My
sanity at a certain point was like greater than the look at that, the sound resistance of the door is better. Yeah, it's helping my fucking sanity.
Is that what you did with Eddie? Like when he threw his tantrums?
If it was tantrums like that, you're like, don't engage. If he's like, you keep that up, you're going into your room.
So what type of tantrums did Eddie throw? Like,
it was pretty much what you were explaining.
What were his triggers?
Eddie's triggers were we wouldn't get him a juice, like you had said. We would get him a drink or something along those lines.
Yeah, snack time. Like she wants Cheerios a lot.
Yeah.
Cheerios,
don't have them. No, it's not time to have them. You just like freak out a little bit. We didn't have certain things that he wanted to play with. Like you said, the stickers were out. Yeah, it was the same kind of triggers for sure.
How long did it take for him to grow out of it? I know there's the terrible twos, but I've also seen kids in the twos that aren't necessarily super defiant.
It took Eddie probably until he was almost 3 to stop having those kind of tantrums.
Okay, so terrible twos.
Yeah, but they started at your age.
18 months? Sorry, year and a half?
18 months, yep. Yeah, so that was, if my memory serves me correct on that one. And yeah, it was like, you can keep freaking out, or you can go in your room. And as soon as you stop freaking out, we'll come in and check on you.
I guess as they get older, and like, not a guess, this is knowledge, like, we know this to be true, is that as cognition develops, so does emotional regulation. So,
right.
As an 18-month-old, their prefrontal cortex is much less developed than as a 3-year-old. Although, I would argue that some people at the age of, like, 15 to 18 still have the emotional regulation of a 3-year-old.
Oh, fucking A.
But it's all in how the prefrontal cortex develops, right?
Okay.
Because that's what really controls our ability to understand why we're feeling a certain way and process how that really makes us feel, right? Like, the anger that Maddie feels isn't actually anger as much as it's sadness that there are no more stickers. But she doesn't have the cognition to recognize, oh, there are no more stickers. Daddy's going to have to go back to dollar store and buy another sheet of 1,000 stickers for you to stick all over the dog.
Support that horrible Chinese slave labor.
That also, that's...
I'm still in guilt over that shit.
That's the thing is, like, there's nothing we can do that's going to alleviate.
No, there isn't, but I think Amanda would almost, at certain points, too, say she would either use a distraction. She would, like, if he was freaking out about food or something like that, she'd give him something to play with, pick him up, play on her phone, like a distraction away from him freaking out like that. But
so
yeah,
kind of like a technique that we use with people in recovery.
Yeah, totally, man. Like, oh, look at that, you won't play a video game.
We're gonna introduce the 5 Ds to our 3-year-olds. We start with delay. Can we delay the temper tantrum? If we cannot delay the temper tantrum, let's try to distract ourselves from the temper tantrum.
Yeah.
If we're not able to distract ourselves, let's take some deep breaths. If we're unable to calm ourselves down, we're going to drink some nice cold water and settle in for a discussion. Welcome to the 5 Ds in managing a 3-year-old's temper tantrum.
I think the last 2 would be like, ditch him to his room and discuss how you didn't want that kid around you anymore. The 6th one is drink some of your finest distilled alcohol. Because
it's not drink water, it's distilled alcohol. Speaking of which, we are moving on from our Bose Strong Patrick to another Ontario brewery. I don't know if you've ever had Skeleton Park Brewery before. They're from Kingston.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I actually stopped there once on the way home back in November.
Oh.
I went down, my sister had some health issues and went into the hospital.
Right.
And so I went down to help out with my nephew, and my mother was also having her house demolished because they were doing a lot of interior work, and so I was down helping out. And on the way back, I stopped in Kingston at Skeleton Park Brewery, picked up a bunch. This is their Amber 6.6. Chris, this is likely where I'm going to cut you off afterwards because you got to drive home at some point.
Yeah, 100%. And I also went dry February, so even, quite frankly, this little snifter of quart, I'm like, hey, what's going on?
And just for people to know, like, we are actually splitting Tall Boys because I've got this nice flight set now. Oh, shit, I spelled beer.
Champ's cut off now, too. He's abusing the alcohol.
Obviously.
Yeah.
So, this is another red. I guess today's a red. I've got a lot of IPAs downstairs, and I know you're more not an IPA fan. You are not an IPA fan, so I kind of grabbed the ones that I had that weren't IPAs, which happened to be reds.
Yeah.
So,
and it is a strong beer.
It is strong. I haven't tasted it yet. Oh, I'm sure I've had it before. Cheers.
Yes, indeed.
It's sweeter.
It is.
It is definitely sweeter.
It's sweet. Well, higher sugar content when you're putting yeast in is going to yield that, right? Hence why it's a 6.6 as well.
Yeah, you know what? It says here that it has actually, like, the tasting notes are notes of rye bread, cherry, and toast with a warm Highland whiskey finish. And now that I hear the whiskey finish, like, I can kind of taste it. Like, I couldn't really place that taste before, but now that you're like whiskey, I'm like, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. The cherry for sure, too. The sweetness to it.
I don't understand the toast taste. Like,
no, I don't either. It's just
am I having a seizure?
Yeah, toast. Stroke. No, I'm having a stroke.
Yeah. So back into distraction. You're talking about, like, how Amanda would kind of, like, distract, move on, which works to a point.
That's right.
Right? Like, I recognize that as well. You know, I will sometimes go, like, Maddie loves this new show on Netflix called Go Dog Go.
Cool.
Which is, it's literally two dogs who are best friends. One of the dogs just moved in from a country and has pet chickens. And they just drive around their little town of Poston, like Boston, but Poston.
It was almost like Austin.
Oh, it could be that too.
Right,
I didn't even Boston, Texas.
Is it warm all the
I
time?
just assumed Boston.
Well, because it's close to us for sure.
Yeah, I guess so. But it could be Austin, Texas. You know what? If you
was there a lot of guns involved as well?
No.
Okay,
so neither.
Okay, good call.
You know, you either got the mob or Austin. But like, they just literally drive around in cars or fast vehicles to, like, do tasks. And right now, Maddie's 3 favorite things are dogs, roosters, and vehicles. So it's woof woof, cock-a-doodle-doo, which for her is doot-doot-doo, and vehicles, which are all choo-choo to her, even though she's like...
all trains.
She's like, truck.
All trains.
She's like, truck, choo-choo, car, choo-choo, train, choo-choo, airplane, choo-choo.
I'm gonna have to work on her sound effects. No, I'm not kidding.
Yeah, you're gonna have to come in and do some radio voice lessons with her.
Yeah, totally.
So, like, I can distract her with, like, that for, like, 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Not that that's the way I want to distract her. I don't want to distract her with TV. But if I give her something, like, if I'm like, hey, let's go read a book, she'll grab the book and she'll throw it. Or I'm like, let's play with a puzzle, she'll throw it. Or if I grab a stuffed animal.
I would immediately resort to that. Like, if she's been going on for like 15 minutes, the 15-minute marker for me is like, you're not going to stop. So it's time that you are not a part of this. There needs to be repercussion. That's going to get her going in another direction.
So, yes. Now, consequence comes in, right? But consequence has to be at a point where the child understands why they're being consequenced and what is the expectation coming out of this. And in a 1.5-year-old is going to have a less ability to understand why they're being punished than a 5-year-old is.
Oh, 100%.
Right? Yeah. In the same way that, like, you know, if you catch a dog doing something bad, you got to catch them within the first 10 minutes for them to know that you're mad at them for that specific thing. Otherwise, they're going to be like, why are you yelling at me?
Yeah, there's for sure, like, moments where you'll have to discuss with them and maybe, just like you say, go into the D's of distract and not get yourself distilled yet. But
no, that's for Daddy.
Yeah, that's right. That's for totally Daddy.
Daddy Daycare Distillery.
3 Ds, nice.
Yeah, triple D.
Triple D. Yeah, you know, I do get the fact that a 1.5-year-old will not really click as to why they're being segregated into their own room while they're freaking out and melting down.
I guess part of it might just be patience also, and be like, you know what, 6 months from now you're going to understand a lot more than you understand today.
That's true.
Like, I've read, I think I've mentioned this book before, but I read this book called Your Defiant Child by Russell Barkley, Dr. Russell Barkley, who does a lot of research around ADD, ADHD, and ODD, oppositional defiancy disorder.
Okay.
And so Your Defiant Child is a look into how to properly set up consequences, but also how to set up reward for building an ultimate level of trust between an adult and their child. But he really focuses on that cognition level of you have to be able to recognize what reward is versus what consequence is. And so it's a really interesting read, but it's only really practical for kids once they hit kind of Eddie's age.
7.
Yeah. I'd say starts around 6, and his book is solid for 6 to 12.
Okay.
And if she was having temper tantrums between I would say even maybe drop it down to 4. You could definitely implement a whole bunch of these techniques because you have that level of emotional education for the kids have a much higher emotional intelligence. They have a much higher just basic intelligence. They have a better grasp of language, but they also have a better grasp at portraying language.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah, vocabulary is bigger and their scope is bigger for their understanding.
Because right now, we know Maddie says star, moo, cat, dog, Jack, daddy, mama, grandma.
And everything's a train.
A choo-choo. But I can't say, what do you want? And have her go, I would like Cheerios. I get G! And I know that Chi stands for Cheerios.
And because Champ can read child subtitles, he knows it is Cheerios.
Well, I've also had her yell at me, Chi, many times until I finally got Cheerios and she cheered. And so now we know Chi means Cheerios.
That would have been a great short video to see on the internet. Meanwhile, the dog's just sitting there pawing at the Cheerios. She wants this, right? Maybe you can't get this.
She literally threw her hands up in the air and was like, yeah!
She just saw her team score a touchdown at the Super Bowl.
Oh.
Yeah. So, you're at a curve there. Quite frankly, I want to call Amanda and be thank you for dealing with all this stuff that I really didn't have to at a certain age.
Well, and I guess that's the thing, right? Whereas when they were younger, you were out working long hours.
Yeah, huge hours. Yeah.
And
coming back and being bye, I'm going on stage.
Exactly. You were throwing in if you throw in all the work you were doing probably a 60 to 80 hour work week.
Yep. Probably 65. Yeah, I always took Sundays off though.
Yeah. It depends. If you were working a full weekend at a club, you're definitely working almost 100-hour work weekends. You're ultimately out of town.
Yeah, those happen too.
And that's tough. I've been in the situation that I work from home. I work 4 to 5 hours a day max. And it's interspersed throughout the day. I don't mean to do that to
European of you.
I'm very happy with how my life is set up.
Yeah, no, it's comfy zones, good. Yeah.
I actually, I was literally talking to my massage therapist. Here's my privilege. I was having a massage Friday morning at 10 a.m. And I was talking to my massage therapist about how I justify kind of the wages that I do, because she's actually going through to become a therapist as well.
Yeah.
And I made a comment. I was like, look, when I started out, when I graduated university, and I could have jumped into trying to do private practice, but I really wanted to learn how to work with people. And I was like, so I picked up part-time jobs all around. And I was I was working a part-time job as a rehabilitation counselor at a halfway house for $14 an hour. I was working, this was when the minimum wage was $10.50. So $14 an hour was huge.
Yeah.
I was working overnights as an addictions therapist at a halfway house for people in recovery for $10.50 an hour cash under the table.
Nice.
And I would sometimes get double booked and show up, and there'd be another person to be there, and they're like, well, seniority, they get to stay, you have to go. And then I wouldn't get paid for it. So I was doing that. And then I was also working at some overnights / some days at a women's shelter downtown, doing kind of PSW work with a client for $12.25 an hour. And my very first night working that shift, I was supposed to help get this person who she had one leg and she was living with a lot of mental health issues, help her get out of the bathtub. And when I went into the bathtub, I saw that she'd soiled herself. And so I said, oh, don't worry about that. We'll get that cleaned up. And in my head, I was like, this is gross, but I guess this is part of the job. And she's like, no, it's just a chocolate bar. And then she grabbed it and took a bite out of it. And I gagged. And she threw it and laughed, and it hit me in the mouth,
as
I was gagging.
Oh.
So when I sit and I kind of joke, I literally ate shit to get to where I am today because I got down nitty gritty. I worked for 15 years on that grind, through different agencies to work my way up and to really educate myself in the field from a ground level up. And so when I...
Long story short, people, don't be making snap judgments on Matthew for working 5 hours a week.
Well, not anymore. Because but that gives me the opportunity to be a full-time dad, right?
That's right.
It's not that I'm just working 5 hours a week, but that's our difference. Is you were working probably the same amount of energy that I'm giving it, but the energy is different because you are working at a job as provision versus I'm kind of working as, for lack of a better word, it's a stay-at-home dad.
Yeah. Yeah,
and so we're not doing daycare until April, and we're only going to put her in daycare for 2 days a week because my schedule allows us to do that, which it's convenient, but at the same time, it gives me that chance to really invest in that part of the development. So part of me is also concerned about breaking that bond by bringing consequence in, because we've ultimately formed this very big caregiver. Carry bond.
Man, you're gonna have to check your daughter's tone. That's all.
I am.
Check your daughter's tone. This isn't about her. It can all change like that. That was kind of the first thought in my head. Well, she's been freaking out like this. I'm you need to pull some dad voice. But you know what? I pull dad voice on Erica. It shrinks. You know what? I tried to pull dad voice on Eddie. Doesn't work out so well. Mom voice trumps Eddie.
For me, dad voice is just ultimately exploiting the patriarchy, because we're ultimately allowing our intimidation factor to trump conversation, right? I look at a temper tantrum.
You can't have a conversation with her, so...
Well, no, but I look at a temper tantrum as an emotional meltdown.
Yep.
Right? You're having an emotional meltdown, let's say, as a 40-year-old, almost 41.
Shut up.
Couple of months.
Yeah.
And we'll be able to finally throw your 40th birthday party someday.
Fuck, right? At least it's not going to be camping.
Last year we ate McDonald's in Heather's back.
That was
next to a dumpster in Heather's garage.
It's still better than on the actual day, which was still better than what I did over the weekend. Anyway, so I digress. But so you're saying trumping her with anger is not going to make you feel any
or it's not going to even necessarily make her feel any better, because if you're in an emotional state, if I come at you angry that you're in an emotional state, what's that going to do to you?
Yeah, I'm not necessarily... Well, obviously, meeting anything with anger is not great. I'm not talking about anger. I'm just talking about, a serious tone of, you're not going to shit, take...
However, Erica is how old?
I should be 5 in April.
5. She's 5. We're rounding up. She's 5. Just like we're rounding down for Maddie. She's a year and a half.
Yeah.
18 months. How much? Can I ask how much you weigh?
I am at 270 right now.
270. How much does Erica weigh?
38 pounds.
Okay, so you already have. You're a giant compared to her. You physically intimidate her, even if she loves you and you get the hugs and the kisses. If you turned in a dime, you can be scary. That even mom can be scary, right? Anything bigger can become scary.
Mom's way scarier, for sure.
The moment that you aggress in your tone, you assert yourself as a dominant. And you throw levels of intimidation there where I don't want her to ever feel when daddy raises his voice that it's an intimidating thing because it's to get you in line, but that I'm only raising my voice in a time when I am in distress. Because I'm not necessarily in distress when she's in distress. I'm just inconvenienced.
Yeah, fair enough. And I mean, it's not, I don't want to get the impression that my go-to is be super angry at them. It's not even
I know it's not, because I've seen you with your kids.
It's not even an angry thing. It's mostly a no, I'm not going to put up with that shit. More of a stern, there's my line, but you can hear it vocally.
Okay. So it's you have the assertiveness.
Yeah.
Where is the empathy? Because I feel like whenever you assert yourself, there needs to be a level of empathy. And this is where I have my problem, because I can understand empathetic assertiveness with adults. Yeah. I can recognize going to another adult and being like, I understand that you were upset because I said this, or I did this, or because this happened to you. But, and then you assert yourself with the assertion. So there's an understanding before that, not aggression, but that this is what I need.
Yeah.
When you're talking to someone who doesn't have the capability of reasoning with that, how do you bring empathy into assertion so that way they understand that you're not going to take that shit anymore, but you still have that love and that care and that unconditional respect?
Usually happens after the tone's played. Sometimes I can be like, no, I love you, sweetie, but this is not going to happen.
So does it come out then as an apology? Like, Daddy's sorry he had to raise his voice? Or does it come out as just, Daddy wishes he didn't have to raise his voice?
Not even like that. It'll be like, raise his voice, and here's what happens. I'm sorry if you're, still upset about something. Mind you, they have a little bit more reasoning.
Well, and Eddie and Erica are both fantastic kids. Like, we've met them and I've seen them kind of manage, at least intermediary conflict with you guys, where, they'll come up and ask for something and you'll be like, no, and they'll be like, and you'll be like, no. And then they'll be like, okay, and they'll respect it. You guys have a very good relationship with that. So I don't want to make this sound accusatory.
No. You're just trying to... We got to that point. You're trying to be like, where was the steps before that? I think it was mostly just the serious tone. I couldn't ever raise my voice and be freaking out at my 1.5-year-old, nor did I.
Well, and so, I mean?
Yeah. So, I think it came with Amanda pulling, her boundaries, the whole timeout thing, the whole, you can just scream it out in your room because that's it. And once they've done screaming, either they've gone to sleep or they can be like, hi, it's you again. No one's been around for this amount of time.
So on that, in Your Defiant Child by Russell Barkley, which we've already mentioned today, Russell, you owe us at least $10 now.
Or at least a 6-pack, right?
You know what? Here's the thing. It's if one person buys your book out of this, and you should, actually, it's a fantastic book, best parenting book I've ever read. I read it as a clinician, and I should have read it as a parent.
Because I should probably read it.
I took some small lessons about it. But what he talks about in the timeout is he wants you to put the timeout and make it visible. That they are accountable to their timeout and that they understand why they are being consequenced. Because otherwise, you just say, toss them in their room and let them yell it out until they pass out. Do they understand why they've been upset? And do they understand why they've been put in their room? Versus the timeout chair where we're like, you're going to go sit in the corner, or we're going to put you on the couch, or we're going to put you in the dog kennel. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Yeah.
But in a situation like that, where they then must be accountable to the time, and if you set a time of with Eddie, you could say, you're going to be in there for 10 minutes. And every time Eddie moves, that 10 minutes restarts. So that way you're making Eddie accountable to consequence.
We just let him have his own mindful times when he has little meltdowns, or if he's getting upset. We're like, maybe you need some mindful time in your room.
So rather than the structure, you take a mindfulness approach.
Yeah, we're like, you need to just be in your own zone for a while, and he agrees to it. He's like, yeah, I do. I'm far too upset.
It's funny because I can totally hear Eddie being like, I am far too upset, and just walking.
Yeah, I just need to go in my room for a while. I'm just going to be in here. I'm like, yeah, good call, buddy. You take all the time you need.
I like that because mindfulness is huge. We're actually in the school boards now teaching mindfulness to children starting at the age of 5.
That's what Eddie brought those things home from junior kindergarten.
Oh, nice.
He's I just need some good mindful music. And it's meditation music. And he needs to hear, babbling brooks or whatever the hell it is, or, ocean sounds. He's got a couple of CDs.
He's got some stuff.
Yeah. So, getting there, maybe I'll do a little, getting there was quite the adventure. You're right, though. Have a lot more patience, Sam, for sure. I'm not saying super freak out, but if it comes to a point where she's just freaking out like that and it's been longer than 20-25 minutes, you'd be like, you can't be freaking out like this. I can't, put them in there and they'll stop. Either they'll continue to freak out and put themselves to sleep, or they'll stop and then you can come in and be like, hi, we're back. You feeling better? You know, like...
Oh, and then that allows you to speak to them, or like if they have the cognition, to have a conversation once the emotion has cleared a little bit, which gives them a chance to reason, right?
Yeah.
You know, when we act emotionally, we don't necessarily act reasonably, but when we act logically, we're not always acting emotionally, and that's kind of right brain, left brain.
Yeah.
Shiz.
Spock agrees, but doesn't like it.
So no, I like that. You know, the mindfulness that you bring in, like we actually just recently purchased a book called Elmo is Mindful. Mm-hmm. And it is literally Sesame Street characters that are in situations that might stress them out and the things that they do to bring mindfulness. So Grover is going to slide down the big boy slide for the first time and he's scared. So he has to do some positive affirmations. And he gives him some positive affirmations. Cookie Monster accidentally drops his cookies and is frustrated.
So then he starts to shake because he's horribly addicted to the cookies.
So Elmo teaches him how to do some deep belly breaths. And after doing some deep belly breaths, he's calm enough to go bake more cookies.
And then Grover comes in and sells him the cookie dough.
Bert is angry that Ernie's hogging the bathtub, not leaving space for him. So Bert goes and does the pigeon dance until Ernie gets out of the bathtub so Bert can go have a bath.
Distract herself.
Yeah. And Abby is freaking out. She's overwhelmed because she wants to practice magic because she's a fairy.
Right.
But she can't remember all the words to the spell, so she's just overwhelmed. So Elmo and her make a glitter volcano. And as they make the glitter volcano, as the glitter settles at the bottom of the jar, so does Abby's emotions.
Right. And then they also agree not to smoke any more of the stuff they get from Oscar.
PCP.
Right.
What a grouch.
What a grouch. He looks like a nug of weed, but he sells angel dust.
No, it's good. It's actually good. She loves it. She'll bring it over like once a day and we'll read it. And so today she was actually kind of freaking out because after her nap, I had brought home some. That's Riley. He's outside.
Yeah.
I brought home some new Easter springtime books that I'd picked up at the Dollarama because they've got a great selection of children's books for like $2.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah. So I brought home a bunch, and she just wanted to read them over and over and over again, which I was fine for like 2 hours. And then eventually I got to the point where no, like you can sit on my lap and you can flip through them. And she started freaking out because she wanted me to read them. And so what I started doing was kind of the belly breathing with her, but I would do it by like lifting her up with each breath and bringing her down with each breath. And so it was like, up, down. And she actually started to like breathe with the breath as I went up, down, and then she started going, up, down.
I did something like that with Eddie.
Down, and it calmed her down.
Yeah. Or Eddie it'd be mostly like he'd enjoy the rush of like me being able to pick him up and then put him back down. And that would kind of distract him enough to be like, okay, we're cool.
All right, I was entertaining.
Yeah, it was entertaining. I don't know what I was talking about earlier, but yeah.
Exactly.
Hey, were any of those books from the dollar store? Any Dr. Seuss books?
No, there weren't. The Dr. Seuss books are not as cheap as dollar store books.
No, for sure. We got a bunch of ours used, and I get why. I'm not sure about the whole. I mean, print whatever you're going to print. Print is dying, so I guess that's why they're not printing them anymore. But I say don't, print them because the racist stuff. I'm not even sure what they're talking about. I say don't print them because they're so fucking hard to read to your children that should be out of print. Fuck.
So here's the thing with that is there are 6 books that have like
6
some
chapters,
racist undertones to them. I don't know exactly which books they were, but they were stopped being put into print over a year ago at the request of Dr. Seuss's family and the foundation being like, these books, we don't want that to represent his legacy. So they were the ones that decided it's not everyone being like, oh, we're canceling this. They're just coming out as like, oh, this has been removed from shelves at the request of the family. In fact, it's probably a progressive thing. I look at this and go, who cares? Because what this allows us to do is like Dr. Seuss was fantastic for a generation, and we have a lot of Dr. Seuss books. I love Cat in the Hat. We do Cat in the Hat. I've got a Cat in the Hat puppet that we do Cat in the Hat with, and it's a lot of fun. But there are so many new voices and new artists and new diverse perspectives that are writing for children.
Yeah, exactly. That no one needs to hear one fish, two fish, Jew fish, you fish.
Whoa.
See? That's what I'm saying. Right? You don't need to have anything like that. No? Too much of a
That was a little... That was...
Oh, sorry.
Christopher, you owe an apology.
I'm sorry. It's not an actual title.
No, that's not the actual title. That's...
Bluefish.
Red fish, blue fish.
Yeah.
One fish, two fish, red fish.
But you see why they're not printing that book. That's what I was getting at.
Is that the one? That was one of the 6.
I don't even know if it's...
That's one of the 6. Well, that's one of the ones that we have. I didn't recognize the titles from...
Were you going to burn it now, champ?
I might have to. After you made that slur, I might have to.
Well, it's a slur, but I'm not going to go burn books. Who's the... You laughed them all.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are both in the wrong on
both
different sides.
Different sides. But yeah, it's probably progressive.
We've been buying a lot of books that have been by female authors for Maddie, like children's books by female authors. We've been buying a lot of books by authors that are from different countries, different cultures, because she's always going to have books like the Berenstain Bears, and always have things like Dr. Seuss and Clifford the Big Red Dog and Curious George. So, why the fuck can't she also have, a series that is about, we've got a full series which is about, the history of women, and it's each book is a different woman of history, but it's their story, telling it to a child. It's actually really cool. So, you've got everything from Agatha Christie up to Jane Goodall, and they've got fashion design, Coco Chanel is one of them, Frida Pinto.
Oh, yeah.
There's,
the future is female, so, hey, why not cover the art that needs to be covered?
So, I don't know. I just feel like Dr. Seuss has had a solid day in the limelight.
Yeah, and it's always going to be around. A lot of them are classics, and yeah, it's if the family doesn't want them to have printed, for sure, right?
So yeah. Anyways, I think we've solved temper tantrums.
Yes,
temper tantrums no longer exist. Cheers to that.
It's a curve, everyone.
Fuck a duck on a monkey rug.
That's right. Don't forget, try to flatten the curve. Wasn't that the big thing last year?
Yeah.
We flattened the curve. We just got so drunk at home and we just laid flat.
You know what? I flattened my curve.
I dropped 10 pounds, but I also started a workout regimen in the mornings.
Oh, nice.
Before going...
Yeah, one morning it's your right hand, and the next morning it's your left hand, and the next morning it's your...
sleep. Every morning I get up and do 60 crunches and 60 jackknife lifts, and then...
Do you do a wall squat?
No.
You should do a wall squat.
I'd probably alleviate my freaking 60 squats that I do on every other day. Sure. Wall squats, eh?
Just throw in a wall squat for a solid, expand it over a little bit of time, but start off at a 60-second.
Well, I didn't start at 60 crunches. That's for fucking goddamn sure. And 60 jackknives. That's for sure. Right. It was 20. Oh my god, it was 20 second week of January. So.
All right. Hey, keep at that, man. That's awesome.
It does. It helps a lot, and you guys should too. But mental clarity and energy, just getting better in the day to have a little bit of health,
My anxiety over the last year is what led to me losing 40 pounds.
So it's not a healthy loss. That's what you're saying.
No,
it's loss of fear. His poor kidneys are just producing adrenaline over the...
It's just I've got a steady drip of cortisol in my brain. It's just everyone hates you. Life is failing. You should give up.
What a track. You need to work out. That's what that does. Because all the endorphins come out your body and come into your body, and that fucking negative track.
Oh, I know. Yeah. It's funny. I know all the answers. It's just when you know all the answers, you're always the worst one at following your own advice, right?
Amen to that.
That's the problem. I've actually this year has actually been a pretty good year. The last 3 months. By this year, I mean 2021, because I feel like I've really actually leveled some stuff out, right? And I've plateaued. I haven't dropped past 190 in the last 6 weeks, which my worry was I was just going to keep going. Not that I'd like to take another 10 pounds off, but then I'd like to tone. So
start toning and the 10 pounds will go.
We've got a Bowflex bike on the way.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and then we're going to sign up for the Peloton app because you can sign up for the Peloton app and just use it with any other bike, and the Bowflex will allow us. Like, it works well with it. So
go. Got a plan. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in. We are. I apologize again for the racial slur.
Yeah, I know you were just joking. And I made probably a bigger deal out of it because you're doing more of a satire than you were an offense thing.
Yeah, for sure. But
it's just we want to be sensitive.
Yeah.
No, we're gonna get back into doing this as long as we stay in Orange. We're gonna get back into doing this more regularly because there's good shit that comes out of this, and I appreciate learning from my brethren and also just having a place to vent.
Yeah, man, for sure. And we're glad that you guys are out here and keeping it sane.
Yeah, and I want to actually give a shout out to Jacob Pollack, who is the guy that does all of our music. He has recently started a podcast called Propaganda. Propaganda.
Like Canada.
He's definitely a little bit farther left than the average left voter.
Okay.
And he's a very independent thinker, and I really respect discourse with him. I have a lot of fun talking with him, and I feel like he challenges some of my own core beliefs a lot, which is nice. And so his podcast is kind of about politics in Canada, as well as like really focusing on. He just recently released a music video called "Ballad for Billionaires," it's really funny, and it targets an idea of a wealth tax and why we need a wealth tax.
We sure do.
And about how Canadians support it, but ultimately what Canadian billionaires could fund with a very simple wealth tax. And so even if his politics go farther left than you're comfortable with,
check it out.
Check it out. It's good discourse, and it's not disrespectful in any way. Like, he'll parody, like, we'll make fun of billionaires and eat the fucking rich. But
there's only one thing the very good for: eat the rich.
Oh!
Stop it now! I'm going crazy. Steven Tyler, baby.
Steven Tyler. We need to eat him. He's rich.
He's got a lot of fat on him. He's probably pretty tasty.
But he's rich.
Yeah.
So eat the rich.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Eat him.
Uh-huh.
Jacob, this one's for you.
In an elevator.
All right. We'll see you next time. Follow us on Facebook. We got Daddy
Issues Champion Kingsbury. We got Daddy Issues is on Twitter.
No, I fucked up Facebook. You fucked up Twitter.
And now we'll both fuck up Instagram.
All right, so Instagram is We Got Daddy Issues. Twitter is We Got Dad Issues. We Got Daddy Issues at gmail.com. Let us know your thoughts. If you send us something eloquent, we'll write it. Just stop sending us hate mail.
Yeah, could you?
Yeah, and stop with the slurs. Like, we're people too.
Yeah.
I'm sorry that I disappoint you, Dad.